Hello and welcome to Connotation Points Video Snark. I read bad books so that you don't have to. I'm continuing my read-through of Fury by Elizabeth Miles. Not the first video, go check out the others. Links are posted below. The following video might be difficult for some viewers. If you are struggling with suicidal thoughts, please reach out. People care about you. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800-273-8255. Chapter 9. Back over to Emily. She's worried about how people would react to her being the other woman, which I don't exactly have much sympathy for her since it was clear that she knew before sucking face with Zach that it was wrong. She tries to justify her actions by saying that Zach is going to break up with Gabby, and sure, it'll be hard for Gabby, and that Emily and Zach would have to hide their relationship for like an entire year. But Emily goes on to think that after Gabby sees how good Zach and Emily are together, she'll forgive them. But also admits that she feels like she's lying to herself about the entire thing, which it's good that she can identify that she's having this problem, but it's bad that she identifies this information yet does nothing with it, which also seems to be another reoccurring theme of this book. Emily then gets her computer and starts sending the poem to Chase as agreed upon. The narration doesn't outright say who this poem is about, but it's pretty obvious since there's only been one boy that Emily has been mooning over. However, after literally writing out 2 lines, Emily then gets distracted by a new email. The subject is, "Please, sir, can you spare some change?" She clicks on it and sees a grainy photo of Chase as he knelt before Ty on the bridge from the night before, although Ty isn't visible in the photo. Either she's literally unable to be photographed or the angle just cut her out of it. The caption underneath the photo was in continuation of the subject, "Please, sir, can you spare some change? Times get even tougher for the trailer trash of America." The photo had been sent to Section's entire junior class. Emily feels bad for Chase and wonders where people's right to privacy went. JD comes in, although Emily was so distracted by the email that he startles her on accident. He points to the photo and comments about how messed up it is. JD's attitude towards the email is baffling to Emily despite her earlier thoughts about how wrong it was. She asks JD about all the mean things Chase had said to and about JD the previous year, but JD is of the opinion that nobody deserves something like that, which is pretty much my thoughts on the matter too. I've spoken about this in regards to other things, but your own abuse does not give you the right to turn around and abuse other people. Yes, bullying is abuse. Let's not pretend like it's not. There's a tedious moment for about half a page where they talk about flour and somebody's mother's bad cooking skills. I literally do not care. Then JD looks at her in a way that makes Emily wonder if he's about to confess his undying love for her. But the moment passes without him saying anything, and he points to the mysterious red flower and asks what it is. The narration then pauses to tell you about the sweatshirt Emily sleeps in that belongs to her dad. Because priorities, and also the idea that an editor got nowhere near this. But Emily lies and just says that the flower was just something that her mom picked up. JD is quick to leave after that, and since the scene is over, I legit don't care anymore. After he's gone, Emily goes downstairs to get some tea. She puts it into a mug that Gabby had given her, but for once the endless info dump about the mug is actually relevant, if only because of the personal connection. If only the author could have put some useful info dumping into the Victoria's Secret panties. Ugh. As Emily reaches for some honey, there's a random burst of wind through the window that knocks the mug off the counter and it shatters. Emily watches as the wind whips 2 pine trees around so that the snow flies off but touches literally nothing else. And then she thinks about the 2 lines of the poem that she'd managed to write. "You enter my heart like a sudden chill." When she'd first written Impossible, she hadn't realized how scary those words could sound. Well, if a young adult novel is going to have bad poetry written by angst-filled teenagers, at least write in some double meanings like this. Chapter 10. Chase is obsessed with Ty, but vows that he's going to leave his phone in his car while he goes to a postseason football team meeting. However, the second he gets inside, he can sense that something is off. People start heckling him about the photo, about how nobody likes poor people, sarcastically asking him if he needs money for various things. But the problem is that Chase literally has no idea what they're talking about. One of the guys shows him the picture of Chase from his phone. Chase seems to think that they were following him around and questions him about it. Despite Ty not being in the photo, Zach randomly agrees with Chase that the girl he was out with was hot, which gives the implication that he was also stalking Chase. However, Chase fails to see it like this and only just views it as relief that Zach for having his back, that this is somehow Zach thanking him for keeping quiet about Emily. The coach comes out and people quickly shift the conversation to football stuff, but the entire time Chase can't stop thinking about Ty. He left his phone in his car intentionally so that he could focus on the meeting, but by the time that it wrapped up, Chase was literally shaking as he ran out to his car to check. My personal brand of heroin, indeed. Chase literally almost crashes his car into the mailbox as he's leaving because he gets a message. It would have been funnier if it had just been some junk message, but no. It was from Ty asking to meet him again. She gives him an address, but Chase feels like something is wrong when he drives out there. It's behind the construction for the new mall, and there's literally nothing around. When Ty gets in, she says that she lives in a pipe, but then laughs off the entire thing and says that she doesn't live around there. Chase asks if she instead lives in the haunted woods. She'd never heard of those particular ghost stories, but Chase laughs it off and says that it's just nonsense people say to make the little town seem more interesting, that if there are ghosts, they're just dumb drunks. Ty directs him to an old house in an area where there's literally nothing around. And hey, so you know how people endlessly make fun of dumb white people in horror movies when they're like, the walls of the house we just bought are endlessly oozing blood. It just adds charm to the property. Yeah, that. But with dumb men more focused on getting laid than worrying about going to what's clearly an abandoned house in the middle of the night with a girl he barely knows. But as Chase looks at the house, he thinks that it's little wonder that he and Ty get along so well. He thinks that she lives there and that she came from poverty, just like his current situation. They go inside and there's not much. Literally the newest thing is a radio, but even Chase's description makes it sound like it's a couple decades older than he is. They go upstairs where there's more signs of life. It sounds like Ty has been living here, or at least squatting in the house. Chase gives her the poem Emily wrote, and although he lies and says that he wrote it, Ty loves it. She then asks him to help him paint her room, and he agrees. She comes back with paint, which is described as looking like blood when they start to apply it to the walls, which, yeah, that's not ominous at all or anything. No need to be worried about that. They make small talk before Ty comments about some paint on his shirt. Chase doesn't want to upset her, so he quickly gets some paint on his pants, too. What happens next is something that is filed under, I just cannot make this garbage up. She took her brush, dipped it into the paint can so that it was really dripping, and drew it up her arm, along her neck, and into her hair. But why? They continue to paint for a while before Ty insists that Chase take his clothes off so that she can clean them. He says no, but she keeps pressing the issue. And I know that he's supposed to be this plot device to get the author her sweet, sweet revenge, but damn girl, he said no. It's a complete sentence. But in the end, Ty pushes Chase into doing it. He kisses her and then agrees to take his clothes off if she will. She does so and literally just strips naked right then and there in front of him. Chase takes his clothes off, but Ty says that there's paint on his boxers. Chase decides in for a penny and for a pound and takes them off too. Ty leaves to go put the clothes into soak for a moment. When she comes back, she insists that they should take photos. Chase is again reluctant, but his need for Ty is so great that he agrees. However, he finds that he can't stop watching the flesh and randomly thinks of it as being hypnotic. He finds that he can't stop telling her about his dad, about how he sometimes wishes that he didn't have any photos of his dad because they're only just painful reminders of the terrible childhood he had. He goes on to say that he feels bad for his mom, and admits to her that he's obsessed with his own life, but she's given her entire life for him. And part of me gets it because the parent is supposed to take care of the child, but Chase is just so ungrateful about everything, and it's mainly what ticks me off the most about his backstory. Ty listens without much comment to what he's saying, and then she says that he's too afraid before she dips her hand into the paint and starts to draw over him. Chase draws things on her body and decides that he belongs to her now. Chapter 11. Since Emily's car is still in the shop, she's been hanging out with JD a lot. Oh, and Chase is basically blackmailing her. Today, Emma was supposed to meet up with Chase around 3. He wanted her to write him another poem. She didn't really have a choice except to say yes. Speaking as somebody who has written a lot of poetry, you can't just snap your fingers and accept a great poem to come out on demand. But before that, they go to an office supply store so that Emily can buy a new notebook, and it has to be perfect, but not too perfect, you know? Today, JD was wearing a rust orange fedora, completely with a blue plaid ribbon around the rim. Of course this guy is wearing a fedora. Following this, I fully expect for JD to turn into a raging nice guy incel, including calling Emily a trashy whore when she inevitably rejects him. She and JD sit in the parking lot and eat their breakfast. As they're doing this, Emily thinks about how she had gone over to Zach's the day before with the excuse that she was tutoring him in math. Instead, they had ridden around on his snowplow before they'd gone inside, stripped down to their underwear, and made out on the bed. Even after getting caught by Chase, I guess they can't help themselves and will continue to do it until they face actual consequences for their actions. The truth was, Em had never been in love. She knew that. And beyond the fact she had such strong feelings for Zach, Em had always been jealous of Gabby and Zach's relationship as a separate entity. The idea of long-term partnership, of waking up and going to school every morning and knowing that you would hold the same person's hand between classes. It was what her parents talked about, that feeling of just knowing. So, does she actually like Zach, or is she just so jealous over Gabby's relationship that she's going to sabotage it? I get that it stinks not to have things that you see everybody around you having. I've mentioned this before, but Emily is 16 or 17 years old? There is literally no rush on things like this. Is she seriously going to destroy the relationship with her oldest friend simply because she coveted being in love that much? Because that's the only thing that I'm getting here. JD breaks Emily from her memories. She tells him that they shouldn't spend too much time in the store, that she needs to tutor Zach again. JD can sense that something is up between the two of them, even if he doesn't know exactly what it is. He asks why the two of them are suddenly so obsessed with Zach's math score, which is a fair point. JD continues on and says that it's weird that Emily has spent most of winter break hanging around her best friend's boyfriend, while said friend is off on some island somewhere, which he's not wrong, it is really weird. Emily breaks down and confesses that she and Zach are in love. However, after a moment of processing that weird and spontaneous confession, JD calls Emily out, says that of course Zach would have said that kind of stuff to her if only to get laid, because that's who Zach is, a player. As you can imagine, Emily doesn't exactly want to hear the truth. She wants to continue to live in the little la-la land where everybody just magically accepts her being the relationship wrecker. JD gets angry and starts to drive off, but Emily tells him to stop. JD finally snaps and tells her to get out from his car, seeing as how she won't listen to literally anything he has to say. He even goes so far as to call her a spoiled child, which, yes, she is acting like a petulant child throwing a tantrum when she can't get her way. She's also really delusional and is being really unrealistic about the future of her relationship with Zach. Eventually, he does take her to Zach's house, which is too much kindness for what just happened. You know, I might have been making fun of JD and his fedora and the obvious setup to turn him into the angry incel, but at this point, I think that JD would be justified in calling her a trollop. At Zach's house, Emily confronts him about telling Gabby. Despite Gabby being away, she's upset that they haven't told her yet. Zach reassures her that he'll take care of it and quickly distracts her with other things. They start to make out, but Gabby calls, so Emily says she has to answer it. But despite Emily's anxiety over not telling Gabby, she continues to not tell her friend anything, or even make an attempt to. The call is short, although Gabby says that she'll be back in 3 days. As you might have expected, the call only upped Emily's anxiety in regards to her current situation. She gets on Zach's case and makes him promise that he'll pick up with Gabby as soon as she's back home. He says that he will, and Emily worries that she pushed him too far. Zach takes her home where Chase is waiting for her. Since Chase already knows, Zach isn't afraid to kiss Emily goodbye. Emily tells Chase that she needs to keep working on the poem for a bit longer and invites him in. Chase offers to make her some hot chocolate while she works. As Emily is doing that, Chase says some stuff about Ty. And I know that they're dumb teenagers, but come on, the things Chase says about Ty are beyond creepy. But then Emily gives him the poem and he leaves. But as Emily turns around to collect their milk, she notices that he'd left his football playbook on the table, which despite the fact that it's not football season, she seems to think that Chase will need it right this second and runs out after him. Except that he's not there, and she can only just hear a creepy woman's laugh in the distance. After dinner, Emily goes to the park to mope about her current situation. Zero sympathy, babe. As she's doing this, she finds a random note in her pocket that says, "Sometimes sorry isn't enough." Emily is kind of freaked out about it, since she doesn't know how the note got into her pocket in the first place or even what it means, and she runs home. The contents of this book can be quite intense, I know. If you need help, please don't hesitate to reach out. People care about you. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800-273-8255. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to help me out. The first is watching this video as well as all of my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book Snarks, always free and updated every morning. And if you've already read all of my main Snarks, then you can find even more Snark on my Patreon. You can access it for $1 a month. Members also get early access to my main Tumblr Snark. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, you can either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my Snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $6 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well, just 1 cent per word. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of erotic short stories and now 2 full-length novels. I also sometimes run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you can know when I might be offering more things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys!